So the next one is we want to kind of give a quick demo of the web page that we have so far. And this is where your feedback would be helpful. So Megan leads that effort. Megan?
Challenging my athletic ability here. Hi, I'm Megan. I'm glad you all could make it today. I'm pretty excited about this project, and I'm excited to see so much interest in what we're doing here. So I worked with Prakash and Carmen to try and put together a website for this project with my team. I'm definitely not the only one involved here. They've done a really great job of getting information out to you through this website. It's how you guys, I believe, all contacted us to be here today, so that's great. And as part of this project, we are working on developing a way for you to interact with what we're doing here and how your sensor fits into the whole picture of what we're doing under this project. So I thought I'd give you a little overview of how that works right now so that you have an understanding of that. Understand it's a work in progress right now. We're working on the science back end of putting these algorithms and these corrections and this, how we're gonna map up the satellite together. And so hopefully you'll be seeing some progress over the next year or so on what data you can get and how your data fits into these pieces. So just, I'm not going to go into a lot of IT stuff here. I'm just going to give you a quick overview. If anybody's interested in the gory details, you can talk to me later. But we talked here a little bit about your purple air sensor. So your sensor collects a bunch of data. And actually it goes into a database that it's called ThinkSpeak. It's actually a third-party open source software that Purple Air uses to store their data. Your data sits in there, and when it's visible in Purple Air side, you can see that data gets pulled from there. There is some data also stored at Purple Air. We have a separate RTI system here that is actually pulling that data out of ThinkSpeak, and we're storing it in-house here as well, so that if anything ever happens to Purple Air, or we need to go back in time and find data that we used over the years, we have a copy of that data here. So we pull it every hour. When you log into our website to look at your sensor, we're just pulling the latest value that you see is something that we're pulling every hour from the Purple Air website. But we're also pulling every day the data that gets uploaded on a daily basis. So you'll be able to see some of what you can see right now on the Purple Air website also on our website. The features on the Purple Air website are pretty robust, as Brandon showed you earlier. So right now, if you want to pull your data or look at your data, that's probably a pretty good place to go. But in the future, when we start doing our science piece here of correcting the data and looking at the satellite stuff, hopefully you can come to our site and get some more information on how your sensor is being used in that way. So this is just a look at how the data comes in to us. You can see that we get the values and when it was created. One of the other attributes that we're looking at doing this year is pulling in some more metadata about your sensor. So not just the data itself, but as Prakash talked about earlier, you know, what direction is your sensor facing? You know, what height do you have your sensor at? What's the approximate distance to any kind of fireplace or roof or driveway or road or that kind of information, so that can help us in cleaning and interpreting the data so that we can calibrate it to be able to use it more accurately. So as part of our website this year, one of the things improvements that we're going to make to the website is when you log in, an area for you to be able to enter this information for us. So we'll be collecting that information from you. We'll ask you to put it in there. It can be managed by you, and we'll contact you if we have questions about any of that. But we're working on what this metadata is going to be, how we want to use it going forward, and we want to make sure that we get it in a way that we can utilize it, that it's consistent across all of what you're entering, so that it makes it easier for us to use and interpret. So be looking for that as a feature. I'm sure that Carmen will be contacting you when that's ready and requesting that you go in and put in this information for us. So I'm going to show you the website. This is what it looks like. But one of the things that we need you to do in order to get you into this website is that after you perform your registration, you're going to get a confirmation email from Purple Air that your sensor was successfully registered. If you can forward that email to Carmen, we will make sure that we get you in this system, and we'll send you back information on how you can log in and what we need you to do after that. I would echo a little bit, Brandon showed you that when you register your sensor with Purple Air, if you use a Gmail, a Google account, that gives you a login there. On our website, also, you can use that same Google account login to log in there, so that makes it a lot easier for you. If you're like me, you have 1,000 passwords you need to remember, and you don't need to remember another one to log into our site. So I'm going to show you that site that we have right now. Let's see. So this is the air quality citizen science site that we've put together. You can do all of this stuff that I'm going to show you right now. What the advantage to is when you log in, right now what it does is, and I'll show you how to do that, is indicate where your sensor is on the map. Going forward, we're hoping to have a lot more information on that site that will give you different charts, graphs, maybe some movies that were shown on how that is specific to this project. But once we've entered you in, so you've registered your registration and you send us forward that email, we will put you in this system so that you can then log in. Log in. You can see right here, you can actually sign in with Microsoft or with Google. Since Purple Air recommends Google, that would be great to keep yourself consistent here so you don't have to remember too much to use Google. I have an admin account, so I'm going to log in with that. This is really tough to do. So, when you log in, you don't see a whole lot of difference. I got this little admin up here at the top. You guys probably won't see this. But when we add in the metadata, I think this is where it's going to live. So once we add in that metadata piece that we're trying to collect from you, I think you'll see a new menu item up here. It might be admin, and it probably will be a drop down that says metadata or manager network or something along those lines. Right now, when you go to the site, since I'm the admin, you would see your sensor highlighted in pink. In this case, we have a little bit of information from registration-wise on mapping up sensors. So the admin owns all the sensors that you see in pink right now. All the blue sensors have are part of our network being this project, but the host is somebody other than me. A little bit of managing your sensor. The light blue is indicating that, I think it's light blue. Light blue indicates that your sensor has been offline for a while. Blue indicate we haven't seen any data within, I think it's a day or 2 days. So we can do some kind of management from our end on seeing what sensors are available and whether we have some issues going on with them. We can easily pick them out. So from a data standpoint, this is nothing like the features on the Purple Air site, but you can click on a sensor right now. Let's see if that will work. And we have a bit of our data that shows here is what we're pulling, as I showed you earlier, from the Purple Air web service. We're pulling what the current values are for each of your channels here. So Brandon talked and let you know that there's actually 2 sensors in your Purple Air sensor, and you can see the different values that are in each one. They should be pretty close. If you're seeing that they're not, that's probably something that you could bring to our attention. We'll also be trying to track that on our end as we manage the health of our sensor network and looking at whether your sensors are online, whether these match. There'll be some QA probably around that as we move forward in this project. But you can take a look at that. Right now, we have one simple chart looking at the PM 2.5 for the last 30 days. So you can look at that and see what your values have been for both channels. This maps both channels data, so you can see how they compare. And again, you can turn them on and off. It's an interactive map. So that is available to you right now on our map. Going forward, actually, it was mentioned earlier, the data layers. So we do have some data layers here. These are static GIS layers that we've brought in to show you some of the fire hotspots, and the corrected satellite data that we brought in. So we'll be doing probably some more of that. I don't know if you can see the little red dots that are on there for the fires. If we zoom out a bit, I think it brings up, you'll start to see the, I think, oh, I don't have it checked. More? Jeez. You've exceeded my limit here. I think it has to do with the resolution on the screen, maybe. You can't see it, but eventually you get to turn on this aerosol depth layer. There we go. And you can see that. So we're going to start to play around with adding more layers here, possibly doing some time series, looking at this, how this changes over time with the values that are in our network. But you should start to see some more features. So as those get added in, or if you have ideas for things that you would want to see in Track, we definitely welcome that. Carmen will be sending out updates regularly on the updates that we make to the website, so you all are aware of that. But I certainly welcome any comments or suggestions from you guys on what you'd like to see. Send it to Carmen, or that she has. We have a actually a project email address. I think it's AQ Air Quality. There you go. She'll send you out an email that explains all the registration process, how we need to do a lot of stuff that we talked today, and that email. Yes, sir.
But is there a way that you should name these things? So
Name.
that a way, like a naming convention.
Yes, so on each of the sensors themselves that you got today, there is a name that we would like you to use when you register that, so that we can, that will make it easier for us if we need to actually look in Purple Air like Brandon showed earlier, or for us to be able to find them, that would be great. But there is a name on there, so make sure if you can use that, that would be wonderful. And again, the owner name needs to be Olga, so that the owner email address, Carmen will send all that out in instructions for you. And again, if you forward us the registration, that will help us, because there's a special sensor ID number that's in that, hidden in that registration, that will allow us to pull this data for our website behind the scenes. And we can't pull that until we have that little sensor ID information. So that's the purpose of getting that registration form from you. Any other questions? Mm-hmm. Yes, those weren't that similar. There was actually an issue with that sensor. We're going to be looking. I mean, I would say I wouldn't say you'd have to go in and look at it every day and you know, sort of be panicky. But if you start to see that that's kind of a thing that you've seen for a while now, then definitely something to bring to our attention. We're going to try and also track that on our end as we're looking at the data to look for issues with the network, manage the network ourselves, and when we're queuing and everything, we'll start to see that as well, and may contact you about, hey, your sensor isn't behaving as we expect it to behave. Perhaps we need to come and look at it, or bring it in, or send it back, or clean it, or something along those lines. So yes, it'll be a team effort in trying to keep these sensors in as top shape as we can. So we look forward to working with you all on that. And certainly if you have any questions, as you're seeing readings, don't hesitate to reach out to one of us to help you out. Yes, ma'am. Uh-huh. Yes. Go ahead, Carmen. I was going to say, Carmen will be collecting these stories.
I don't want to leave Megan to have to answer that. So there is an email coming out to everybody as soon as we finish here. It's going to have some reminders of what you've had, like the dump of information. I'm trying to highlight what the key need to knows as we move forward. And in there is a Word document with how you can get engaged with everyone here, with the project team, through the project website is the first place to start, and sending us stories. What I mean by that is you can easily just be tweeting and using the right hashtags. That's a general air quality community effort. But sending us your stories to include on the blog or send out in newsletters to everyone who's part of this project as a highlight would be amazing. Anything that you're experiencing that we can share out too. And there's a Slack channel for general discussion on the website. Can you go to, like, show how to get to the Slack?
You want to? Oh, is it what?
Yeah, it's right there. If you go to the top of the page.
If it would let me. There we go.
So collaborate tab and then join now is where you can, and it's a chat group. Thank you for that question. I know it's a lot.
It is a lot, but we're happy to answer any questions. So if you have any after this that you feel like are pressing and you have to have the answer to, Carmen will always is looking at that email that she'll send out. She's always looking at that email account to make sure that we're responding.
So we are 1.5 years into the project. So we have another 1.5 years left. But the sensor, you keep it as long as it's running. So it's for you to keep and use it for whatever data that you want to use it for. And of course, it will keep feeding into this data framework. So a couple of differences, I think, between this and why do we have a website when there's a Purple Air website, when there's a world view. I think that's best answered by the question that one of you was asking about, can we overlay the satellite data? So this one is going to be customized for the project objectives to be able to overlay the satellite with the sensor data and also correcting the sensor data based on the algorithms that we'll be developing as part of this project once you start collecting the data. So just to let you know, before these sensors were handed over to you, we have co-located every single one of them here and to make sure that both of those read alike, both the A and B sensors read alike. So we have all the data to be able to compare it, and we had deployed a few of those next to the monitors in EPA's campus. So we'll be doing all the data calibration process. So as part of these improvements to the website, we'll be doing those additions to look at the corrected data, overlaying it on with the satellite data. And once the satellite models are developed that Pawan and Rob discussed, then we'll also be showing those. So there'll be a lot of these additional features, which hopefully not overlapping with the Purple Air or the other websites. We would like to complement what's already out there. But yeah, the sensors are for you to keep.
Yes.
ASAP. So if you can get it set up in the next week or two, that will be awesome. I think that would help because one of the things that we're looking from a sustainability standpoint is how do we make this framework exist and continue, make it useful even after the project ends. So one of the things that we would like to do is even if there are sensors that are not part of a project, we would like to collect that data and use it. Now, the big question is how good is the data quality from that sensor? So for the sensor that we're deploying in this project, we are co-locating it. We will be able to correct the data that comes out of those sensors. For the other sensors, we will have to come up with innovative ways of correcting the data. But if there are sensors that you are, networks that you're managing, or you know of others who own sensor, please do let us know if they're willing to be part of this network and project. Yes, we would be happy to include that data. At some point, I'm thinking what Megan might be thinking here is how big the data is going to get and what do we keep online? What do we show? And I think part of that is, we'll probably discuss that next is, it depends on your feedback. What is it that you would like to see that would be helpful to you? Because we want this to be useful for you, for the citizen scientists. And so all of those decisions will be optimized over the next year as we kind of decide, okay, this is what most of them prefer. Then we will kind of decide, okay, this is how much we will have online, and we will archive the rest. So that's kind of the plan going forward. Yeah. Okay, I think that maybe that probably ends with this, right? So then we want to get into the discussion part. Thank you, Megan. So what we wanted to do is kind of give a opportunity here to get feedback from all of you, your thoughts after you have seen these presentations. What is it that you would like to do? How would you like to use this data? How would you like to use these sensors? So we would like to kind of hear from you on that aspect. So, I have a few questions here to kind of start the discussion. Was there, maybe just before that, what did you think of the session today? Was it useful? No, it's beyond my head. This wasn't helpful at all. I was expecting something else. We would love to hear from you, because we want this to be, we're going to be doing one more workshop. And of course, like Carmen mentioned, we will have another workshop at the very end. That is going to be focused more on the data side. But if you have thoughts on what we could have done differently for today, it would be helpful for, at least for, not for you, but for probably the next round of citizen scientists. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we were initially thinking of doing that, but yeah, that's something that we will include it next time. Yeah. Yeah, we realized so. So we were initially thinking of maybe having each one do it along with us, but the issue is you will anyway have to re-register it when you go back, because it has to be registered with the Wi-Fi network that you're going to be using. And so even for all of these sensors, since we have already registered it as part of that preliminary evaluation, it will take a while for it to show up that Wi-Fi, that purple air underscore thing. So even for this one to start, it took almost 15-20 minutes for it to start showing that, because it's still trying to search for the previous Wi-Fi network that we used. So yes. Yeah, we do have a few set up, but all of those, the IT restrictions are so good that you go to the cloud. So that prevents us. So everything that we have on campus is a cloud version. It's a, SD card version. So it doesn't report in real time. But we do have one up in the parking lot here that's deployed. We have one at a few points on campus here. That's there, but you can't see the data here because it's not reporting directly to the cloud. We did do a test run with a fully independent solar panel powered one, so it's totally off the grid, because we wanted to do something like that for India if we needed to. And so we did try to do that with a Wi-Fi hotspot, and that seemed to work as well. But yeah, there's one there.
Has
Yes,
anyone?
Brandon.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
We do have a sensor set up here, and so it is broadcasting that purple air Wi-Fi. So if you wanted to, you could get on your cell phone, look at your available Wi-Fi, and you could connect to it and then open up, and you could play with it and reset the Wi-Fi settings to something random.
So, one of the things that I wanted to ask, so we showed that Collaborate, that Slack forum. I don't know how many of you are averse to social media or active in social media or this type of chat forum. We used that, or at least we started with that, but we would like to hear from you. What type of communication would you prefer? Email would be good. How would you interact with the other citizen scientists? A forum like this would be good. Would be maybe a Google group. I don't know, I'm just kind of getting feedback. It's depending on what we hear. and what resources we have available, we could try to implement what's most convenient to most of the citizen scientists. Any specific thoughts or feedback on that? A Facebook group.
Do you guys like Facebook?
How many of you use Facebook?
Okay, a good handful.
Okay.
How else do you keep engaged with communities of interest, your hobby groups, church groups, family groups?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so a periodic newsletter. Yeah. Make
Is
it.
there a specific frequency? Once every quarter? Twice a year? Quarter? Okay.
Okay. I think Slack is like that. Okay. Message board. Mm-hmm. Okay. That's easy to implement too. Message boards. Any other ideas, ways you like to communicate? You really like it when you subscribe to an email and then you forget that you've subscribed to those emails, and then all of a sudden you have an inbox full. Okay, so periodic newsletters.
How would you like to be involved in this project? Of course, we kind of gave a few examples. Is there anything that's burning inside you? I really want to look at this data when I get back, or maybe this would be good for my class. If you have any thoughts on that one. Sure. And I mean, I think, so we did hear from a few other teachers who were interested. So if we have enough response, I think one of the things that we would like to do is also maybe plan something separately for teachers from the perspective of trying to maybe help answer your questions on how to include it, or maybe adding to your curriculum or something like that. But that's something, depending on the response that we get, we might probably be doing something like that again. Um, okay. Nice. Are there specific questions that you want to answer with this data set? Like, oh, what type of features? Sorry, do you have any? Brandon, can you answer that? Are there security concerns they need to be worried about or need to keep in mind?
Yeah, I think not any like real significant security concerns. It is something that's connected to your network, so you do need to be careful. I believe the Wi-Fi does drop because it is putting out an open Wi-Fi for a certain time. But once you configure that to your own Wi-Fi, that Wi-Fi should drop, so that won't be out. But there's no security concerns that I'm aware of. There has been some research that looked into like potential people trying to hack in and change the data so it would be higher on a map or something, but nothing that I know of that's concrete.
And your location of your place will be on the map.
Right. So that is one thing that you are agreeing to by getting the sensor, by registering it on the purple air map, is that the data is going to be out in the open. So every single point on that map, it indicates where the sensor is located and the air quality data that's out there. So we are not collecting any personal data. Your name information that we collect is only, it's going to be just with us to be able to contact you if there's an issue with the sensor. What's available in the public domain is just the location and the air quality data itself.
Right. It doesn't say whether the location is business, school, resident. It doesn't classify it as anything or describe it as anything more than a point on the map and then the air quality that's being measured.
You had a point.
Yeah, because you pick, when you register it, you pick a point on the map and it doesn't have to be like your front door.
Just make sure it's right near your house, not somewhere in a different place.
It still has to be
Otherwise
on a
it doesn't
Wi-Fi
help.
network, so just make sure.
Otherwise, it doesn't help us with the project. So, right.
So tens of meters acceptable, hundreds of meters not.
Right. Yes.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Sure. Okay. Okay. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's communicating in real time, so it's every few seconds, right, Brandon?
Yeah,
10
the
seconds?
sensor is measuring, the actual raw sensor is measuring in very high time frequency, but the actual time resolution of the data points that are being sent through the Wi-Fi is 120 seconds, so 2 minutes. So if you download the data, you won't have, the highest time resolution that you'll have is 2 minutes that it's sending data points. And it's just sending very small text, so it's not sending, images or videos or anything that's large files. So it should not be taking a significant amount of bandwidth. It's not like you're streaming Netflix. It's very small bits of numbers.
So I think it depends on the Wi-Fi signal, but I think what Brandon is saying, it's not going to take a lot of the bandwidth to transmit it because it's just data, it's just text information. So it shouldn't be a problem. I think that's what. Right. But it does look at the strength of the Wi-Fi signal, right? If it falls below a certain thing, then maybe the data won't communicate properly or something.
Yeah, that is correct. There's no internal data storage on the device. So if the device does not have Wi-Fi, it will not be streaming data and it will not be recording data. So if you have a downtime on your Wi-Fi, Or if it's in a location that's not in a good Wi-Fi location, maybe you'll get a data point every 5 minutes or every 10 minutes just based on, you know, how that Wi-Fi signal changes over time. And it'll connect and then it'll disconnect, connect, disconnect. You'll notice that you have a very periodic data set. And you'll notice that if you go on the Purple Air map, it'll be grayed out. It's offline and then sometimes it's online. And it does not store data, so it's not going to back upload. So you're not going to have large batches of data going into the map. So it's not going to kind of store up and then shove it all at, you know, on the hour, every hour. So it shouldn't be increasing bandwidth. It should always be consistent as long as it's connected every 120 seconds, sending the data points.
Yes. Yeah, good. Okay. Do you think the satellites will pick up the pollen?
It is tough. Means you can see the change in leaf colors, like fall colors versus the springtime. You can see that, but pollen specifically is very.
It's larger.
Yeah, they are
size.
bigger in size, but also I think, I don't know, because of it stays very close to the surface also.
Yeah.
It's very hard for the satellite unless, I mean, people have been doing research on that. So on a research scale, if I say, you can do some estimation and some detection, but there's no such ready-made product available for public to use it. Let's put that way, I think. These sensor will definitely detect.
Right.
This sensor will respond to the change in pollen, which you are mounting on your home.
And you should probably see more of PM10 than PM2.5
Yeah.
for the pollen. So that'd be good. So what would you need from us to be engaged? Should we keep annoying you every few weeks, every few months? What is there something that you would prefer? Of course, newsletter is one. Anything else that would help you keep engaged? Okay.
If I send an email and nobody answers it, or
So check our email.
you guys are encouraging still with your responses. That'll receive them.
Would
Okay.
you like to see a regular alert to check the cleanliness of your sensor? A cleaning reminder? Would you like that for the rest of your life as well?
Unsubscribe.
Yeah, right.
Yes. Yes.
They are your sensors.
So I should say we did not expect that question, but I think if you know of someone who would benefit from it, I think you can give it to them, but of course have it re-registered, or if not, just send it back to us, and then we'll find someone who can use it, who can make use of that one. Yeah.
Expected lifespan.
Good question.
Couple of years.
Do you know, Brandon?
Yeah, it's dependent on the aerosol loading that the devices take, and hearing from the pollen season, that could definitely impact it. So it's a very small fan that's pulling in aerosols into the device. It's an optical device. And so if something gets in there and clouds up the optics or impacts the fan, so if you guys are good on maintenance and you vacuum it, you make sure that that fan doesn't get overloaded. probably one of the biggest ways these things fail is the fan fails. The estimated lifetime is 40,000 hours is what you will get from the actual raw sensor manufacturer, which is, I think, a couple years. I have seen that to be less in some and more in other cases. And one of the ways you can tell whether a sensor's failing is by looking at the A versus B comparison and how well those work together.
And so those are some of the additional visualizations or tools that we would like to add, we plan to add. Like what Brandon was mentioning, A versus B, and maybe a time series. But if there are aspects that you would like to see, I would really like to see a graph that shows what the concentrations were measured at my house over the last week or over the last month or over the last year, what time frequency range you want to see. If you have some thoughts on that, just definitely let us know, because we'll have to prioritize our resources and decide what is it that we want to show on the website. And so when we decide to add these additional visualizations, we will prioritize it based on feedback that we receive from you and other citizen scientists. Okay, so this is what most of them prefer. They would like to see what, how the air quality was over the past week, or maybe just over the past few months. So we'll kind of decide what time range we want to show them, and whether you want to see really high time resolution or just a daily average. It will obviously vary depending on how you plan to use the data. But again, which one you have found to be useful, that would also help. Yes. Mm. I think that would be awesome. Yeah, I mean, because one of the things we were initially thinking of doing is maybe co-locate some of these with or have another mini weather station with these, but we decided that may or may not be totally representative. But if there are areas, if people like you who has a weather station along with this, I think that'd be good to explore and definitely use it in data analysis. Yes, I would say yes. Yeah.
One of the in the registration side of things, one of the registration, you end up sending the data goes to Purple Air, and it also goes to Weather Underground as well. And so you can also probably link that to your Weather Underground station, and then the data will be sent there as well. So there's additional data processors in the data registration, and you might be able to input your Weather Underground ID there as well.
So by default, it's selected there, right? It does it in addition to Purple Air. It also lists Weather Underground as another place.
Correct.
By default, it's on, I think.
Correct.
Okay. All right. I think we are just past over 4. So we want to wrap this up unless there are any kind of last minute questions. We really want to thank you for coming. It's always hard to anticipate, how the participation is going to be. Thank you for being an engaging audience, and thanks for your interest. We look forward to working with you over the course of this project. And if you have questions installing the sensor or any general questions, let us know. So Carmen will be sending an email. It will have the contact email address, same email that's in the survey, I think. So we will make sure to respond quickly within a reasonable time frame, and then look forward to seeing the data. Thank you. Thanks again, and please feel free to take some refreshments.